Business owners can manage their risk better. That's what we're going to be going over in this live stream today. So I'm going to have Anthony come up in a bit, and we're just going to be talking about strategies and ways to manage your risk better and save more of your money and take a lot less risk when you are investing into your business and growing your business. What's going on, Anthony?
There we go. How's it going?
It's going good. Can't complain. You?
Good, going good. Just finished up my nephew's baseball practice, so
Sounds like fun.
just a whole bunch of kids running around in circles.
So you want to just get right into it, or you want to give people a second to come in?
It looks like we got a few people in here. Where you guys calling in from? Because I know we typically got eyes all over the country. I feel like we get a lot of people from Texas or Florida. The few people that are in here right now, where you guys calling in from? We got Pascal. He's out there, and you're in Houston, right?
Yep.
There we go. And I'm in Northern California, Sacramento to be exact. We got South Carolina. Brandon, our business partner, just got back from South Carolina today. There it is. We can go ahead and get right into it. And then as people get in here, they can ask their questions.
And one of the main things when it comes to when you have a business or whatever it is, obviously when you have a business, you're taking a lot more risk than you would if you're just a regular W-2 employee, because obviously there's overhead, there's payroll, there's a non-guaranteed income that you're going to have. So when it comes to just structuring a plan for yourself, you need to make sure that you position yourself in a way where you have as little restrictions as possible, where you save your money and where you have access to it, you have control to it, and also protecting yourself against things like market downturns. Because a lot of times people are taught about SEP IRAs and things like that, but I think there's a lot of downsides to saving in an environment like that when it comes to people and business owners. I guess, Anthony, what do you think about that in terms of maybe even SEP IRAs, which is probably recommended to a lot of people that are self-employed?
For business owners, they are going to not only be managed in themselves, but then also have employees for the most part to where they, I would say, a responsibility to have work for the employees that they have on staff. So they have a little bit more upkeep, if you will, on making sure that they always have clients to fulfill whatever the industry, whether it be construction or real estate or really any other venture. You want to make sure that you have constant leads so then your people can work and give them whatever the goal is, but then it's the business owner's risk by having employees, because if somebody doesn't show up, somebody still has to go out there and attend to the client. And if they quit or whatever the case may be, when people don't come to work, the job still needs to be done. And that's really how you build a brand, is by fulfilling your responsibilities. So insurance is one of the ways not only to make sure that they are giving themselves a risk control on the health side. If an employee was to become sick, whether that be chronic, critical illness, or even terminal, that's a way to cushion the blow. But then also if they were to pass away, because life is not certain. We can be here today and gone tomorrow. So that's definitely a leverage point that can be used by a business owner.
Yeah. And I think business owners, a lot of times, they're just told to invest in a SEP IRA. That's what you're supposed to do, or you're supposed to put your money aside into an environment. But the problem is when you have a business and you're building a business, I would probably say most of your net worth, for most people at least, that are building a business, and my brother is in the process of building a business where he has a decent amount of employees at this point. Most of your net worth is tied into the value of your business, right? So the main thing is when it comes to anywhere you save your money, right, is to protect the business, right? So if you think about putting your money in an environment where you're restricted and you can't access your money and all these other problems when it comes to saving in a SEP IRA, the problem with it is it doesn't protect the main asset, which is your business, right? Because if the business goes down, the things that you're trying to build for the last 5, 10 years for a lot of people gets gone, right?
Exactly.
So the idea of having some money later on in retirement doesn't matter as much as making sure your business is thriving and growing. And having that access to cash, which is the biggest reason why companies go out of business, it's really important.
For sure. As you grow and scale a business, it just becomes more and more complex as far as having risk control. And as business owners, we want to make sure that you control as many variables as you can, because running a business in itself is going to be hard to do so from the jump. So
Unpredictable and everything. So you just don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know. There was a flood in one of my brother's offices just recently, and just happened, right? But then you have to do insurance claims, things stop, you have to do operations and all that. You just don't know what's going to happen when it comes to just running a business, because there's many different moving pieces. some, like you said, sometimes people could not show up or whatever it is, and sometimes just having cash to bail yourself out for those moments is really important.
And a lot of business owners, they have to have cash off to the side ready to be deployed. They usually hold a few thousand to a few $100,000 depending on your industry. I know construction, they usually have large lump sums because you may not be working on just one task or one job site at once, and you may have to have multiple funds at different projects because in something like that industry, you're not going to really get your full pay until the job's fully finished. You might get partial up front, and then you get the rest of the payment when you're pretty much complete. But being able to float cash is one of the things that a lot of businesses have to do, no matter what the industry is. And things like the IUL is going to help not only insure you on the risk management portion, but also help give you liquidity to your cash. But it's not going to give you the minimum returns, if you would. So in a bank account, you don't really have any insurance risk, or there's no insurance risk being taken on. But then also your money's there pretty much sitting stagnant to where you're not really increasing money that you have just on the sideline. With something like an IUL, you'd be able to put your money into that vehicle. It's able to actually earn a large return, as well as you have access to that cash up front. So a lot of business owners utilize cash value life insurance for that reason.
And it's giving your money multiple jobs, right? So, for example, if you have a business and you have a partner that's really vital to that business, what happens if that partner gets sick, disabled, happens to pass away? How do you protect yourself from that happening? And if you have money that you're saving, right, you can essentially manage two risks or multiple risks at the same time. You can insure your business partner to make sure if something happens to them, the lump sum will get paid to the business, the LLC, or wherever the corporation is, right? And also you have the ability to access your money on a tax-free basis within 5 to 7 days when it comes to accessing money via policy loans, right? Because liquidity
Yep.
is obviously important in business because you're going to need that access to cash to either buy equipment, inventory, and all these type of things that you're going to need for your business, right? And being able to give your money multiple jobs at the same time is really powerful in a strategic sense. And you could do other interesting things, like almost like if you have an employee that you want to keep for a long-term period of time, you could structure a compensation plan for them where they could benefit from their policy long-term, but also they might not be able to keep all that money unless they stay for a certain period of time, almost like a golden handcuff type strategy. So there's a lot of unique things you can do if you just position yourself properly, and rather than just having your money in an account where you can never touch it, you could just put your money in an account like a cash life insurance policy where you have high liquidity, giving your money multiple jobs, and you're still protecting yourself from things that could potentially happen in the business, like something breaking, something you didn't get repaired or whatever it is, and just having that access makes a big difference. And also, it looks better on the balance sheet too as well. So if you're trying to get a loan and you show your balance sheet in terms of, hey, here's my inventory, here's my liquid cash, and you could put that in terms of as a liquid cash asset
As an
for you
asset,
when it
yep.
comes to when it comes to actually getting loans, it's going to look better. And also, another thing, like, I guess last point I want to make is a lot of people aren't going to want to lend a business money if the CEO doesn't have any insurance, right? Because if something happens to him, what's going to happen to the lender?
Exactly.
And these are things you realize as you're scaling and building a business. Me as a person that knows basically all the ins and outs of the business, if I pass away, essentially the investors or the lenders lose all their money.
Yep.
So that's really important to cover that into as well.
And for business owners, I always say it's hardest at the beginning because you're the one moving all the pieces. And as you duplicate yourself onto someone else, let's say if you have 1 to 5 employees, each person holds a vital role because there's so few of them, and you've sacrificed your time to train them, to show them the ropes as far as whatever industry may be, and now you've exhausted your time and energy into someone, and for them to either walk away or just to maintain them in your business long term, this is where something like an insurance policy is used to, number one, keep a benefit for the employee, saying, hey, I have this policy in place. It's going to give you a cash bonus at a certain date in the future, whether that be 5, 10, 15 years, similar to how employees make you invest into their company to receive a match on your 401k. Typically, they'll say, hey, if you put in $1, we'll put in $1 up to a limit. This is also how the IUL works, to where a business owner will put money aside for a specific individual that is highly valued in the company, and make sure that they are with him a certain amount of time, because they don't want someone who's just going to be there for a year or two and then have to retrain and redevelop someone. So it's a way to lock someone in for the long term, and not only just keep him there, I want to say stagnant, but you can actually invest in him literally with your dollars to have them have a reason to stay with you and not take their traits somewhere else.
100%. And it's getting more and more common for companies are dropping things like pensions and all these other things. So it gives you a unique value proposition to people to want to stay with your company long term, and they know there's a benefit for them being there long term, right? So
Yep.
it's getting more and more important to do those type of things for your employees, and also it's a way to give them a benefit and also protect yourself too as well, in case there is someone you train for a few years and all of a sudden they leave, right? And just making sure you structure those plans for your business appropriately to make sure you don't lose a ton of money from things like hiring and all that stuff if for whatever reason the intended hire doesn't stay as long as you intended.
And let's say worst comes to worst, if that person was to leave, that key person that the business owner was trying to invest in and develop, if they do walk away prior to the duration that they agreed upon, they can simply keep the policy. They still have a policy that has cash value, and whoever they do retrain, they can simply start over as far as the duration that they have to be vested. But now they have assets that are already a few years matured and build in value that the owner of the policy can utilize however they see fit, whether that be for payroll, for developing the business, like investing into new equipment and staff. So it's a real versatile tool to utilize. And it comes with literally insurance on the person's health, but then also insurance to have somebody stay with your company a little bit long term.
And there's a lot of benefits. And the main thing is when it comes to you developing strategies for your business and everything, you want to make sure everything is incorporated smoothly with your business and it's matching with your goals, right? Whenever you create a plan for employees or anyone, you need to think about what it's going to accomplish for your business long term, right? And just having those conversations and making sure the person you work with, whether it's an insurance advisor or a financial advisor, make sure that they're not just offering you a plan, make sure it's actually attached to real business goals that you have long term, right? Versus just saying, hey, here's a growth fund, save your money in this, it's going to grow at 8%. That doesn't matter nearly as much as tying it to certain business goals, right? Because now, if strategies can be if these strategies can be used to help your business grow, it's going to be a lot more than just 4% or 8% return that you can get from just putting money aside and just thinking about retirement. When you have a business, you got to think more strategically so you can take advantage of the upside of all the things that you're doing.
And like you said, the policy is one thing. You're able to put that money in there and it's going to grow on average right around 7%. But then you can also reinvest that money into other assets. Like I said earlier, equipment, tools, more employees, which those are going to yield you a certain amount that are going to be way greater than any smaller investment will do for the most part, because they're actually manually labor out there and making sales or closing deals and finishing projects for you. So it's a two-sided tool. I always say you're able to leverage your dollar in multiple places. So definitely a tool that most business owners, they don't have a retirement plan, or their retirement plan is their business. So all their money goes right back into the business. And they typically, their one way to, let's say, cash out is to sell the business, which then there's another problem that arises, because then they don't have any more cash flow, and they got to make that pocket of money that they received, they got to make that last the remainder of their life. So it's just a way to make sure that while you're working the business, while you're developing people, you have a safety net, if you will, that is going to grow your cash while you're utilizing it. And if anything was to happen to you, there would be a payout to your beneficiaries, or you can even get them on other employees, to where if they were to pass away, you can maybe buy out a business partner or have enough money to float your business until you retrain someone else for that position.
100%. I see we got a question. How do you reinvest it? So really, when it comes to cash life insurance policies, what you're doing is you want to think about it as separate accounts, right? When you save money in a policy, it goes as premium into an account where you're earning some sort of interest rate, right?
Yep.
And it might be attached to an insurance general account, for example, right? And then there's the insurance company's death benefit that they're offering you. So when you're taking a policy loan, what you're really doing is you're borrowing against the death benefit of the insurance company, right? And this is not just with the IUL, this is also with whole life and all cash value life insurance policies. So
Mhm.
you're technically using the insurance company's money while all your money is still earning uninterrupted compound interest, right?
Yep.
So then that's how you're able to use your money in two places at the same time because you're not really taking the money out of the account. You're leveraging against the insurance company's money while you're still earning interest in the policy.
There we go. Yep. So as you put your money into your account, let's say you're putting that into your right pocket, that money's going to be growing and accruing at one level. But then there's also the death benefit component to a cash value insurance policy. And that comes with an asset worth, whether it be, let's say, for instance, if a death benefit was 500,000, that amount is going to be paid to your beneficiaries when you pass away. Or the way that we like to utilize policies is you're able to take loans from your death benefit, meaning you can actually utilize the value of your policy while you're living. And those
Mhm.
dollars that you're going to normally spend on, let's say, the business via a actual location that you paid for, equipment, employees, taxes, all those things have to be paid. And you can actually take the money that you've stored in the policy, take it from your death benefit, and utilize those funds today while you're living, but then still also have a death benefit to go to your beneficiaries. So it's just a multi-purpose tool that business owners are typically the ones to utilize it just because, like I said, they have a lot of cash on hand to make sure that they have contracts and employees to pay out and fulfill those requests. So it's definitely a leveraging tool.
Is it a tedious process to do? Just to give you an example, I took a policy loan recently for mine, and it literally took me 2 days to access my money in my policy. I just logged in, requested a policy loan. Within 2, 3 days, the money was in my account, right? The main thing is just you have to make sure your policy is designed for high cash value because not all policies are designed for that. We've both seen policies where it's zero for the first 3 years of you saving in the policy, so that's not the right way to do it. So if your goal is cash accumulation, you need to make sure that you're working with a professional that knows how to do that, right? Because a lot of people either ill intent do it or they just don't know how to.
And you reach out to us, we got you. No, but like you said, you got to make sure that your policy is going to be structured for max cash accumulation, meaning the death benefit is going to be as small as we can, and we're going to put in as much cash as we can so then that grows and compounds for us. And by doing that, you have access to that money so then that you could utilize it for, even let's say if you're not a business owner, you can utilize that for rent to help pay for the rent, pay for your car note, food, groceries, your lifestyle. Whatever you want to do with the funds, they're yours. You can totally utilize them however you want. But the main thing is when you put that money into the policy, that value is going to be retained not only this year, not only next year, but every year going forward, you're going to have a chance to earn a return on the money that you put in. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like to put as much cash in there because they're just going to see interest returns from the day they put it in to the day they pass away. So that's a
Yeah.
good one.
But really, we just wanted to hop on here for a little bit and just talk about different financial concepts. But before we end the call, I guess where is a good place for people to find you if they're just interested in just learning more about what to do in terms of their plan and just saving, financial strategy, and all that?
For anything financial related, you can search Anthony Enriquez on all platforms. We also have YouTube videos if you want to go a little bit more in depth. It'll be more long form content and really get into the strategies behind things. But like I said, Anthony Enriquez on all major platforms. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
If you guys want to find me, financial underscore ownership is my Instagram, and there's also my TikTok. And just financial ownership, there's an underscore for YouTube and Facebook as well. So if you want to look me up there, so I post content on that. And obviously, the longer form content, if you want more in detail, like precise content, make sure you follow my YouTube page.
Yep. Alrighty, I appreciate you having me, Pascal. And if you guys got any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out via DM or we'll be on live Mondays and Wednesdays, typically right around the evening time. It does vary just based on our schedules, but feel free to come with the questions. We'll be more than happy to answer anything that you guys have and give any recommendations. So appreciate you guys coming, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, 100%.
Alrighty, peace.